But because of the black-on-black crime, then all those officers are needed.
Okay.
So is that not
And what are
a
your
true
thoughts
statement?
on that? I think that's offensive, if, and I will also say it's racist. To state the fact that, black people are killing black people, yes, we know that shouldn't happen. No. Are black people equally offended by that? Yes, we are. But we also know that white people are, the leading cause of white death. So, yes, crime usually happens among people in your community, among people in your racial group.
That's right.
What we need to look at in terms of Mr. Giuliani is what changes were made when he was mayor. What changes did he enact to change the course of the police department? And I know for a fact that one of the things he did was hire more minority officers.
Right.
And I think that's one of the issues that we have in Ferguson. But there were 3 black police officers in a majority black community.
70% black.
Now, if we want to eliminate the fear associated with young black males, maybe we should hire people that are going to be less afraid to encounter them. And maybe that would actually have some impact on the number of white police officers that are killing black males.
Okay, but at what point do we start to address personal accountability? Okay, we can say all day long that, oh my gosh, these police officers are here and this police officer came and he killed someone. There was an incident that happened here in Fort Myers. Wow, it's been about maybe 6 or 7 years ago. A person who was mentally challenged. He had a gun and was shooting. He ended up getting killed right here in Dunbar. He ended up being shot down because of it. And people were very upset. The fact that the guy had a gun, that wasn't taken into account. Local so-called activists felt like the cop should be persecuted for what he did. But the fact is that the cop was called to the neighborhood because the guy had a gun and he was shooting. And someone even got shot in the leg. But this guy, the cop, fell under all kinds of scrutiny because he ended up killing the guy. And he was a popular person. A lot of us in the community knew him, okay? But the fact is that he was out of control and the cop killed him. So now all of a sudden the cop becomes the bad guy. My point is that we call these people to our community because there are things going on. And then when things get out of hand, we say that the system is not fair. My point is we can't have it both ways. Either we are going to say, okay, you thugs, you take personal responsibility. I'm not taking to the street to fight for you if you get gunned down. Or
deadly force, unless deadly force is absolutely necessary.
But who's to make that call?
I think our system has to make that call. Are we hiring people that have a reputation of violence? Are we hiring people that have a reputation of racism? Are we hiring people that are sensitive to the needs of the community we serve?
Apparently, Darren Wilson didn't have any issues, okay? He felt that he was being attacked by a demon who kept coming, and so he ended up killing him.
Okay, but was he armed? Now, I'm hearing something different today. You said he actually had a gun.
No. This was the situation in Fort Myers.
Okay.
Totally different.
Okay.
He was just a big guy coming at, and the cop admitted he
that
was
had
afraid.
already been shot.
And this is community.
And what is the real
This is
threat?
political right here on CTV 1. We're going to come right back. We'll continue our discussion. I am RJ along with
Arvella Claire.
Bella Claire. We'll be right back.
You ever wanted to know what's going on in and around your community? CommunityTV1.com is your answer. Go ahead, log on to www.communitytv1.com and get your info on.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV One, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian
successfully have had their start at the Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea you would like to pursue, call Tom Scott at 239-321-7085 and come join us.
So if you want us to make it through this little dry season that we're having right now, I suggest you let me be the man that I am and handle this situation. Oh, and yes, we are going to my mother's for Christmas. Case closed.
That, my brothers and sisters, is how you keep Christmas.
And welcome back here to Politico on CTV1. I am RJ, and I'm here instead of, oh, okay. My bad. I didn't know if my mic was messing up again because I tend to talk and it somehow destroys the mic. Oh, okay. This time it's the, okay, Jesse, I hear you. Let's say this time it was the equipment. All right, now we're talking, and we're also talking off camera because Ozella has told me, you know, sometimes I don't know where you're going, and
Yes.
you kind of try to drive me over the cliff with you. That's not the case. I swear it's not that. But when we're talking about a situation as serious as the one that's going on in Ferguson, Missouri, and we talk about something as serious as the interaction of law enforcement with the community. A very good conversation I had with Johnny Streets, Councilman Johnny Streets. He totally switched my view of law enforcement around, okay? You know, he was a law enforcement, one sergeant, very respected person in the community. And while we were having this interview, and you can see it on communitytv1.com, while we were having that conversation, he said to me that when he was getting dressed for work, every day he was getting dressed for work, that he was scared. He said, I was scared. And you know how a paradigm shifts? That totally shifted for me. Because my attitude had always been, when I see a cop that is acting tough and, you know, do you know why I pulled you over? And do you have any, for my safety, are you carrying any firearms? These cops actually are scared because they don't know what they're going to be dealing with. The window tint on my vehicle is dark. So when a cop stops me, I see the cop walking up and he's got his hand on his gun. I'm not offended by that. I know that my tint is kind of dark and he may not be able to see into the car, so I don't have an issue with it. But the fact is, we have to remember that these law enforcement officers are human beings. And they are going to make mistakes. And you're right, it should have been up to the prosecutor to present to the grand jury, and this should have gone to trial. But the fact is that that is not what happened. So in this particular case, can't we admit that maybe, just maybe, this guy, Darren Wilson, actually was afraid? Because it's put out there in the media, and I think that too often it's taught through movies, through rap, through books, whatever it is that you want to look at, that African American men, we're people to be feared. Okay, I honest to God believe that the only reason that the Stand Your Ground law was passed is because of whites' fear of African Americans. When the law was passed, this is one of the first things I said. I can just see me being shot dead and some white guy saying he was in fear for his life. And when they bring a picture of me up in there, the white jury is going to be like, oh, yeah, I'd be afraid of him too. And it could be, okay, he's done this, he's done this, he's done that, he's raised his family, paid his taxes, he's done all this. But that picture of this menacing big black guy, even if they understand that it was not justified, they can understand that point of view of being afraid. So when you take that to a jury, the chances of it being, that person being found guilty, very slim, okay? And I think that it is caught on now where many of these people understand that the way that you get away with the murder of an African-American male is to murder him. You don't shoot him and wound him. You look at Trayvon Martin. You look at the gentleman, for lack of a better term, in Jacksonville with loud music. And of course, he has since been found guilty. But that first trial, a hung jury on the murder. Now, he attempted to kill the people that lived, okay? So they were able to find him guilty on that. But with that first trial, if the only thing he would have been charged with was the murder of that young man, he would have went home that day because he would have had a hung jury or whatever reason, but he would have been dismissed that day. So I think that there's a lot of things that go into play here. I don't think it's as simple as, systemically, we have an issue. I think culturally, we have an issue that we need to discuss, and we need to put it out there, and help whites to understand that no, we are not something to be feared. If anything, it's the other way around. I won't give a white woman a ride. Okay, if she's hitchhiking, she can't get in the car. Okay, am I mean? No, it's nothing to do with that. But if this white woman says I attempted to rape her or I raped her, I'm going to jail. And all I need is some petite little white woman sitting in court pointing her finger at me saying he raped me. I'm gone.
I think that's one of the points that I wanted to make sure we understood about Ferguson. It's the process. It's about knowing that you, as a black male, if you encounter a police officer and things go bad and you lose your life, there may never be justice for that. That officer will more than likely get off. And I think it's so important that we go back to what Michael's mother is promoting, that our police officers start to wear those body cameras. That way we can take the emotion out of it. We can take the person's character out of it, their past out of it, and we can actually have real accountability. That's going to give us a chance to actually witness as individuals, as jurors, what actually happened and whether or not that cop behaved inappropriately. Because when it comes to the issue of it's about that person's fear, that's not justification for taking someone's life. If you are afraid, you shouldn't be in that position.
In Florida, for a citizen, if he's standing his ground and I'm dead, I can't come back and say, I think
we always keep coming back to that. Voting is so important.
Exactly.
Ensuring that we have laws in place that consider us all equal and that take all of our needs into consideration. And I think minorities need protection too. I think we need it probably more than most.
Okay, I like that.
Yes,
all right, now, kind of switching gears just a little bit. I already told you my stance on the video of Michael Brown and him coming into the store bullying and taking the cigars. And I want to go back to personal accountability. You were running for school board, and hopefully you'll be running again and hopefully winning. Where do we start to teach this? Apparently, somewhere it is not happening. About personal responsibility, about the way that you present yourself, about the way that you carry yourself, and that this can have a direct impact on, whether you live or die in some situation, and then whether or not you receive justice. So where do we start to teach this? How do we start to teach it? And what's the hope of it resonating if it's not being taught at home?
We all know that it's our responsibility as parents to teach this at home. But until all communities start to realize that our children are our most precious resource, and we their children about being afraid and being cautious of police officers. You know, minorities shouldn't have to have this discussion with their children. I shouldn't have to tell my daughters, you know, if a cop comes, you got to behave this way because your life is in danger. It's unreasonable for any segment of our population to have that fear about police officers and how they will react to our children based on the color of their skin. I'm saying when you talk about personal responsibility and accountability, we're all responsible to change this pattern because it is unfair and it's unjust for a group of people to have this fear about the people who have the duty to serve us all. So until white families start realizing that they don't want to have this discussion with their children and it's unfair for black families to have this discussion, we're not going to have real impact on our law enforcement or the political structure here. So this is a community issue. It's not just one segment of parents that need to have this discussion. It's the question of whether or not any family should have to have this discussion about people that have the duty to protect and serve.
Very good point. And because you mentioned about what we teach our kids, that was something that I taught my son. Okay, you respect law enforcement, not. And you know, as a young African American male, a young male, you full of testosterone, and I know this that white kids, they challenge the authority of the cops. Okay, and black kids do it. There is a profound difference.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
in the way that you're treated. Most whites do not realize this, okay? And I think there's an assumption made that whites already know. And the reason I say this, I'm conservative, and I go to a lot of conservative blogs, and I have interactions with a lot of different people. In most cases, when there, and it even happened today on my Facebook page, someone put something racist up. I may see a little something at that person, but the vast majority of the people that respond that are white and conservative, they're the ones that are bashing the racists. Okay? I honestly think that they don't know because having this conversation with a friend of ours, I explained that I had to tell my son, when you're stopped by a cop, you don't reach into your glove compartment. You don't do anything. The only reason you take your hands off of that is to tell him that you're going to reach and get whatever he is asking you for. That's it. I don't care if you have to avoid eye contact. If he's rude, you let him be rude, and the whole 9 yards. Is that right? Like I've had kids tell me, Mr. Jenkins, I ain't no Uncle Tom, and it's not about you being an Uncle Tom, it's about you surviving. And a lot of our kids don't want to hear that because we'll ask the cop, where the hell you stopped me? I was driving the car, get out of it. You know, because that cop is going to automatically aggressive. Now, the friend I was having this discussion with, the reason you're a teacher, so look at this. Why do you think there are so many African Americans at ALC in Central Royal Palm? Because all it takes is one of those kids to even sound a little bit angry, and they're labeled as. But I honestly believe that it is not being explained. We are not communicating to their families and doing the same things we are. Their kids not to be racist. There's no that there are so many white conservatives that don't have empathy for what blacks have gone through. Sometimes I don't think it's a lack of empathy as it is a lack of knowledge.
Right.
They honestly believe that everything is equal, and I go out on a limb saying this. More than likely, your parents taught you that you have to be better than the white guy, because to get as far, you have to be better, and they don't understand that. So there is this lack of I don't want to say empathy, because for the most part, when most hear it and they kind of get it and they understand it, they have it and they start to change their view of it. But how can we communicate better as a community if what whites look at is we're rioting over Michael Brown and
We're rioting over the injustice.
exactly.
Yes,
but they're not hearing that part.
Yes, but I think now that we have a black president, we're dealing with the various nations. So I don't think it's something that people are clueless about anymore. That kind of brings it towards us. So the public is becoming much more aware of it. And like you said, we have to make that clear too. Our minds are not clear. They are not, and putting it out there is going to give us the support that we need to actually have some real impact on the system that we're dealing with. Because black parents shouldn't be afraid of law enforcement. They shouldn't have to have these special discussions with their children about what happens when you are approached by a cop. This is a community issue. This is something we all need to be involved in to change, because our children need us to be out there advocating for them to make this a more just and a more fair world. That's what we're dealing with as black parents. That's what we need to address as community members. We all have to get involved if we're going to bring about change.
All right. We're going to come back. This will be the final segment that's coming back. I want to say, you just made a very good point about the president. I kind of want to seg into that and the views of some on the president and whether or not he's the one that has made the Ferguson situation worse. This is Political here on Community TV 1. I am RJ along with
Ivella Claire.
And our regular co-host, Earl Sparrow, he felt it was more important to be with his family. So, whatever, Earl. We'll be right back.
You ever wanted to know what's going on in and around your community? CommunityTV1.com is your answer. Go ahead, log on to www.communitytv1.com and get your info on.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV 1, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free room, copy. Successfully have had their start at the Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea you would like to pursue, call Tom Scott at 239-321-7085 and come join us.
But I kept saying it didn't happen the way that it normally happens. And
welcome back to Political here on CTV 1. I am your host, RJ, along with. We're going to talk about a few things. I'm not going to go too deep into Ben Carson, but he made the statement that race relations were better prior to President. I'll expand on why in a second. But there was a Milwaukee police sheriff, recently reelected. His name is David Clark in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He made the statement that President Obama really wanted the riot. Comments the other night that it was done with a wink and a nod because he wanted this to happen. Now, so now you have black Democrats coming out and saying that he's a race hustler. Okay. My feelings on it is that President Obama, the relationships were better prior to President Obama.
I agree.
Not that they were good. They were better, and many of the things that are coming out now were kept in the dark. I think that the election of President Obama empowered many people who had racist views to come out of the woodwork. What I have seen personally on conservative media, is that it is not so much the president that plays the race card as it is conservative media. They have played this card from day one, starting with he's not American, he's not one of us. Sarah Palin, and she's an idiot, but okay. These people coming out of the woodwork, terrorists, and he's out to destroy the country. All of that, and I understand who's in the form of racism. They honestly talk in politics, and it's about policy. Their feeling is that because this black guy was elected, that means that there's no way that there can be racism.
Right. I've heard that a lot.
Exactly.
But we are really under the gun. They're so angry, Americans electing, that this is their opportunity to actually say and do all the things they've always, we actually have been able to speak and be supported for right and to get the most attention.
Right.
President, understand there's a whole group of black people out here that feels offended each and every time, whether or not we agree with him politically or not. We're offended because it seems that our race or his race is justification to say anything, any mean thing that you want to. And I think as a whole, the majority of black people are offended by the level of disrespect that is laid on this current president.
That's what you have done to the office. Many of them would tell me, oh, well, he was only elected because he was black. Well, okay. George Washington wouldn't have been elected if he was a black. He's incompetent. He's not ready for the job. He doesn't understand America. Are you crazy? Do you really think that as an African American, I'm going to say that, especially after going through George W. Bush? It ain't happening. Okay, so for me, as an African American, as a conservative, I am saddened when I hear all of the negativity that is spewed. I think that black conservatives that come on and they say all these negative things about President Obama, I think they are the reason that more blacks don't come into the conservative party, because what they're thinking is, why would I want to be him? You have a person like Jesse Lee Peterson or Larry Elder, these individuals that even when they go on a white talk show with a Sean Hannity or even a Bill O'Reilly, these guys even say, wow, that's racist. Because they say such negative, bad things about their own race. So I think that we're kind of stuck in a situation where many of these people feel justified because they have someone who's of that color to come out and say the same things that they want to say. And when I hear someone say, oh, I don't dislike the president just because he's black, okay, that little just that's in there, that's kind of telling me all I need to know. So I'm not one of those people that sees the racist behind everything. I'm not Will. I don't see a racist behind everything, but I do understand that it's there. I think that most whites are not empathetic to racism. They don't see it. If a guy is lighting a cross and wearing a sheet and walking away with some gasoline, if you ask him if he's a racist and he says no, then a lot of white people will say, oh, well, he's not a racist. He said he's not a racist. Remember Kramer was on, and I was working with kids, and I would explain to them why it was important for them to respect the office of the president. It will be very hard for me to get these kids to understand that now, especially the way that someone has been treated just because the people who are the majority have felt that they can disrespect that office. So we are doing a tremendous disservice to our country by denigrating the President of the United States. And they're going to cause, I think that we're going to end up awfully sorry about this. One thing, immigration. And I know we only have like 5 minutes, is that right? Yeah. I have no idea what you did. Immigration. The President last week did his executive order. Your thoughts?
I thought it was long overdue. And I think the pushback that we hear now about him overstepping his bounds and behaving like a king are those that have failed to do this for over a decade, that realize that he does have the power to make this position, to take this position, and to actually ensure that these people, these undocumented people that have been in this country, that have been paying their taxes, that have been, hardworking and actually contributing to our economy and to our quality of life, have a chance to actually work towards becoming citizens, or they can be here legally. They can come out of the shadows. So I think, what he did is actually, great for our nation, and it's just going to take time for people to understand that the pushback is the politics. It's the fear of our president doing something that he's going to receive a lot of credit and support for, that's actually going to benefit our economy. Our current president is doing that, and I think anything that he does right now that's positive, he's going to get a lot of pushback from the conservative party, from the Republican Party.
Okay. Here's my issue with it.
Yes.
Okay. African American unemployment is at 11%.
Yes.
What made immigration the top priority? Why would we say, okay, I'm going to pass an executive order to help illegal immigrants, people who have broken the law? What about that 11% of us who are unemployed that are looking for work? Why not do something to address that? Why was it so important for him to skip over us to go get the people who have broken the law?
Okay, well, I don't see it as him skipping over us.
Okay.
I see him as helping other Americans actually
They're
become
not
a part.
Americans. They're illegal. They broke the law coming here.
They broke the law coming here. You're right. You're right. But they've been here. They've been here for over 10 years. These are the people that are being considered right now. It's time to give them an opportunity to come out of the shadows and be a more constructive part of our community, because they are contributing to it. They're here. We're not going to deport them all. They're here.
Right.
Let's find a way to give them a path to citizenship, because that's the next step. We got to find a process to actually employ comprehensive immigration reform. We've been talking about that for almost 2 decades now. This is an opportunity to actually make it happen. Will that interfere with the black unemployment rate? Will that change the black unemployment rate? If they're already unemployed, I don't see how that's going to change it.
Because now they can come out of the woodwork. They know that they are not going to be unemployed. The fact is that, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to go with a historical point of view on this. Okay. The ethnic cleansing that would take place in America. In many cases, it was done because you had white individuals that lived in a community, and then you had the black individuals that lived in the community. The white individuals were used to living at a certain standard. So when the black people would come in, they would take a job and they could work for less money because the standard of living for African Americans was lower. So in other words, this guy who would do the same job would get paid $4 an hour. You had the African American who had a lower standard or even an expectation of living, would do the same job for $2 an hour. He would get the job. So what happened? Whites got angry, run the black people out of town. Okay, because they understood that their jobs were going to be taken away from them because this person was willing to work for less. Okay. In this country, as African Americans, because we have been here, there's a certain standard of living that we have gotten used to as Americans, not just as blacks, but as Americans. There's a certain expectation that we have that someone who is an illegal, undocumented worker that comes to this country swims, climbs the fence, takes a boat, parachute, dig a tunnel, however they got here, it was illegal. That person, now that they can come out of the woodwork, will they take the job for less than what the minimum wage is, or at the minimum wage when before the employer was paying $10 an hour? Now, Jose, not trying to be racist, just using the name because it's general, would take that job for $7 an hour? So that African American is now out of it.
That's the beauty of actually having, an immigration deal, because now those people can come out of the woodwork.
But before it was illegal for them to be hired.
Let me say that. Now they can be hired, and guess what? They don't have to take it for $2 an hour. If the job pays $10 an hour, they have to pay that person $10 an hour if they hire them. That's the beauty of immigration reform. No.
Avella, as long as it's above the minimum wage, or at or above the minimum wage, they can offer that job for whatever they want to offer it for. Now, if you talk about government jobs,
but we have the flexibility. Private business owners have the flexibility of doing that now, even with black people. But you were talking about the unemployment rate.
Exactly.
I'm saying that the unemployment rate isn't going to change because we have more people able to be employed.
Okay.
How so? These people
Because
are
the
black
reason-
people are already unemployed. That's what you're saying.
Okay, you're unemployed, okay?
Right.
The market opens up.
Yes.
Okay? Jose, working for minimum wage, Donnell need $10 an hour. Otherwise, he just might as well not be working.
So your issue
because
is
of
with
his
the
standard of
so
living.
your issue is with the business owner,
No,
not with
no,
the
it's
worker.
with the president for making an executive order to help illegal, undocumented immigrants before he helped legal, card-carrying, Social Security having, voted for you at a rate of 95% African Americans.
Okay, what I'm saying is, as African Americans, we are Americans first.
Right, not illegal immigrants.
He's been struggling with creating jobs since he's been in the presidency.
So he
That's
should've-
been an
so-
ongoing issue.
so he
so
should've
he
dealt
shouldn't
with
set
that
aside.
first.
No,
He should have dealt with that first. The people who got him elected by supporting
he's
him,
been
even
dealing
now
with
at
that.
90.
He's been dealing with that since he's been in the
I
office.
haven't seen any executive orders saying, yo, we're going to do something different
Because
to
guess
help
what?
African American
Guess what?
unemployment.
Guess what? You're legal. You're legal.
Exactly.
Okay,
They're
now
illegal.
we need to make
So
sure
why
that
are you
these
trying to help
citizens
them
can be
instead
legal
of,
because they're
instead of
taxpaying
Donnell?
and they don't have any rights, and we need to
They
change
don't
that.
need no rights. They're illegal. They broke the law. All right, this is Politico. I am RJ with,
Arvella Claire.
and of course, we'll be back next Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully, we're going to get a way so that you guys can start communicating with us better. So we will be doing that soon. See you guys next time right here on CTV1 Politico.
You ever wanted to know what's going on in and around your community? CommunityTV1.com is your answer. Go ahead, log on to www.communitytv1.com and get your info on.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV One, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea you would like to pursue, call Tom Scott at 239-321-7085 and come join us.